I think performative really is the word here, but it's an attempt by the Trump administration to show that they are doing something, to try and sort of quell the unrest within the MAGA ranks. It's been astonishing, really, to see how clumsily they have handled all of this right from the beginning.
We're hearing a lot about Ghislaine Maxwell today, and this will be in response, of course, to so far Donald Trump's decision not to reveal what is in the Epstein files, the so-called Epstein files. The US Department of Justice are seeking to interview Ghislaine Maxwell in the next few days on whether there were any accomplices in Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking scheme. Trump spoke to the press about the ongoing Epstein investigation today, saying that the DOJ's investigation into Maxwell sounds appropriate to him.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I think it's something that sounds appropriate to do, yeah. I didn't know that they were going to do it. I don't really follow that too much. It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt. The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard. What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up to 2020 in the election. They tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that.
All right. Well, the saga continues, doesn't it? The House Oversight Committee voted also to subpoena Maxwell over the Epstein files. So she's going to have to testify in front of Congress, it is thought. What does the Deputy US Attorney General Todd Blanche expect to find here, though? Is this, I suppose people might ask Harriet whether this is performative. There's a lot flying around about Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And is this a performative measure, I suppose, to try and satisfy some of the unrest over this?
I think that's really the key question, Kate. I think you hit the nail on the head there, because, of course, Ghislaine Maxwell has been tried and convicted. And the people who are doing this are the people who are running the Justice Department, who are the ones who prosecuted her. So, you would imagine that all of this would have been gone over many, many times during the course of their investigation that ultimately led to that trial and that conviction. So I think performative really is the word here, but it's an attempt by the Trump administration to show that they are doing something, to try and sort of quell the unrest within the MAGA ranks. It's been astonishing, really, to see how clumsily they have handled all of this right from the beginning. If you go back as far as February, when a group of white influencers were invited to the White House and given these binders, these white folders, which essentially contained previously released materials. So, step by step, they have made a mess of it and irritated, infuriated, really, some of their most ardent supporters along the way. So this is a bid to try and appease them. Will it work? I would doubt it.
So earlier this year, just to add a little layer on that, Maxwell urged the Supreme Court to review her case, but it was the Justice Department that pushed the court to reject that appeal last week. What then is to be gained by speaking to her? And she'll have to testify, won't she? Part of this subpoena that we hear about by the House Oversight Committee. She'll have to testify in front of Congress, won't she, for that?
Yes, I mean, that is normally how these things work. Of course, I mean, she is currently in prison. She is serving time for her role as part of this sex trafficking network. So, whether it will be done publicly or whether it will be behind closed doors with just some members of Congress, it is unclear yet, the details of that. But yes, there is this groundswell, there is this demand. I mean, on the most extreme case, you have people like the influential MAGA activist Laura Loomer. She is calling for there to be a special counsel appointed or an inspector general review of all of this, because people really feel on both sides of the aisle, really, that there is much more to this and that all of the documents have not been released, which, of course, is what Trump and his team promised all along.
There are people who testified in Maxwell's trial who say that their only sense of justice has come from the conviction of Maxwell, and others who say that there are lots of unanswered questions about Epstein, who was we weren't able to delve into that sufficiently in terms of the extent that he led this and was involved in it, of course, because he took his own life by suicide before many answers could be revealed. OK, well, we'll keep a watch on that one. I think that's sensible. Let's move on and talk about UNESCO. Donald Trump's pulled the US out of the United Nations Culture and Education Agency, UNESCO. He continues, of course, to commit to his America First doctrine. He previously pulled the US out of UNESCO during his first term until Biden rejoined the body back in 2023. Is this business as usual for Donald Trump, do you think, Harriet?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I think in some ways it's surprising that it's taken him so long to do this. He says that it is because UNESCO is too woke and that their focus is misguided. UNESCO says that it will continue to work to preserve sites of universal historical and cultural significance. There's 26 of them in the United States. They say that this was expected. Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, he says that this is a shame, but again, that it was expected and that they will continue their work. So yes, I mean, it was very much foreseen that Trump would do this. It's been celebrated by Israel, interestingly, because Israel very much shares Trump's disdain for the United Nations. So, expected by Trump and an expected response from Israel.
All right. The Police Scotland chief has said it would be inappropriate to ignore previous assassination attempts on Donald Trump as they prepare for the president's informal visit. It begins this Friday. He's going to be meeting Keir Starmer, and of course he is going over to have a look at his golf courses in Scotland. Here's the Assistant Chief Constable Emma Bond speaking today on the complex nature of Trump's trip.
There's absolutely no doubt this is a significant, complex operation for Police Scotland, but we have immense amount of experience in terms of events on this scale. COP26, Commonwealth Games, as you said, the death of our Queen and the funeral that came as a consequence of that. So we absolutely are very well equipped to deal with events of this nature. The operation is primarily focused around making sure that we can minimise disruption to the wider community, to make sure that we maintain public safety and that we also balance people's right to peaceful protest.
There was concern, wasn't there? They had to fight back criticism. People were concerned that Police Scotland didn't have the resources, didn't have the standing, I suppose, to be able to deal with this trip. And there is Emma Bond saying, no, we are absolutely on top of it. What is being reported over there on Donald Trump's forthcoming visit to Scotland, Harriet?
Well, I mean, of course, it was last summer there were 2 assassination attempts against Donald Trump. The one in Pennsylvania in July, which actually came incredibly close. And then on his golf course in Florida several weeks later. Both of those were notable because it was in the open air. And that, of course, is what is going to be utmost of, I think, the police and the Secret Service's mind on this trip this weekend, because Trump is going to open the golf course, isn't he? So that's somewhere where he's going to be exposed. He's going to be outdoors. That's, of course, the hardest for the agents to protect him. But he is now president. Previously, he was the candidate, so he had security, but he didn't have the same level of security. This is going to be a very intense level of security. The Secret Service will have been working, hand in glove with the Scottish police for weeks and weeks, months and months in preparation for this. And sure, in the UK, it is a balancing act between the right to protest and the protection of someone like Donald Trump. But, I think as the Scottish police say, and certainly as the Secret Service would say, they are used to this and they will make it happen.
Yes. There is a campaign group called Scotland Against Trump, and it is thought that, Kirsty Hay of that organisation today telling Sky News that protesters across the UK will unite to demonstrate against Mr Trump and his politics of division. She said that the president's using Scotland as a way to cleanse his image, and he should not be able to use the country as an escape from his views. He should not be welcomed by us, she says, or by our leaders. And that's an interesting one, isn't it, as Police Scotland try and work out how big any protest activity will be.
Yes, and I think it's also worth comparing with the state visit, which has just been announced. Notable that Trump for that visit is not going to be in London because they wanted to avoid potential scenes of protest and disruption. So they're going to be largely out at Windsor, we believe, for that visit. So yes, I mean, I think protest accompanies Trump wherever he goes. We certainly see plenty of it in the United States, but again, I think they are pretty prepared for this. They're pretty used to dealing with it. And you would imagine it'll go off without a hitch.
Look, thank you so much for being with us. Oh, no, I've forgotten the Coke story. Hang on, hold your horses, Harriet. Trump spoke and Coke listened. Can't believe I nearly forgot this. Coca-Cola is going to launch a product that contains US cane sugar instead of corn syrup. Just days after Trump told the soft drinks company to change the drink's ingredients. Trump is a Coca-Cola superfan. Here is JD Vance telling us firsthand how much the president pines for a Diet Coke.
And the president looks over at me, puts the foreign leader on mute and says, "This is not going very well," and he presses the red button. My eyes get really big, and I'm like, "Mr. President, you know, what just happened?" And he looks at me and he goes, "Nuclear." Nuclear. And 2 minutes later, a guy walks in with a Diet Coke, and he looks back at me and he says, "It wasn't nuclear, it's just the Diet Coke button."
I love that. So, gosh, this is a pretty much immediate response from Coca-Cola here.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we do have now Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the cabinet. He, of course, is a very high-profile lobbyist to get rid of some of the artificial ingredients from common American food. So not just Coca-Cola, but house breakfast cereals, those kind of things. And one of the things that he's talked about is using sweeteners, artificial sweeteners. I'm sure this is one of his things. Although you can't imagine RFK Jr. chugging down cans of Coca-Cola. But, real sugar in Coca-Cola, they were very quick to listen to this. And yeah, Trump will be a happy man.
Look, Harriet, great to speak to you. Thank you. US reporter Harriet Alexander there. Good to have you on. Thank you.